If there's one thing plaguing the industry to this day that seems to be falling apart while also being rejected by pretty much everyone, it's when games have what I can only call millennial writing. It's when a game's gameplay could be great, its graphics are wonderful, and its world intricately designed, but then it's all taken down and ruined by the writing, the story, and of course, its characters. While the focus of this video is going to be Metroid, I'll also be speaking about other games too, like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Maybe a bit about Veilguard and how this sort of nonsense has all led to the Saudis now controlling an alarming amount of Electronic Arts too. But first, let's start with Metroid Prime 4, because it's what inspired this video in the first place, because apparently now Samus was always trans. And if you think she isn't trans, you are now the problem. I know, but this comes from thegamer.com. Baldur's Gate 3 actress wants Nintendo to canonize popular fan theory that Samus is a badass trans bounty hunter. I wish I was kidding, but no, this is real, and unfortunately, I have to now talk about this because I thought we were past the point where such nonsense would be even remotely stomached, but yet, here we are anyways. Look, I'm not going to say that trans people are bad or anything like in this video, but the crux of my argument here is very simple. It's that millennial writing has ruined so much more than it has saved, and that is objectively true. And that with that millennial writing comes another equally frustrating design that creeps up time and time again, which is the art of rewriting pop culture to now fit new modern narratives. It's like when fans, and I put that in quotation, started to push the idea that Bridget from like Guilty Gear was trans as well, which led to a lot of hostility online. Because fans of Guilty Gear cared more about the competitive viability of its characters, but then here came a new wave of fans, suddenly trying to co-opt another fandom to fit their narrative, and it was a mess. The same thing happened with a lot of anime when Western localizers came onto projects and started changing around the dialogue to make it sound like what I can only keep saying is millennial slop. And if you want more content that isn't slop, consider liking the video or subscribing, thank you. But this sort of thing is everywhere. It's been happening for years, and Metroid is now, I guess, the next battleground where this nonsense needs to be fought back against again for like the 100th time already. So the person in question where this story stems from is Abigail Thorne. I didn't even know who this person even was prior to me writing this, I gotta admit. But here's this Abigail Thorne on screen for you to see. Abigail is an actor who apparently believes that Metroid Samus Aran is trans, and Abigail has been in things like House of the Dragon on HBO, and I guess also Baldur's Gate 3. In case you don't know who Abigail played in Baldur's Gate 3, because I didn't either, it's this character named Nocturne, a supporting character and merchant in the second act of Baldur's Gate 3. Anyway, circling back to this Metroid article, as seen here, Abigail Thorne wants Nintendo to confirm what they claim everyone already knew apparently, which is that Samus has and always will be a trans character since the very beginning. Here's exactly what Abigail said. I still think Nintendo should come out and tell us what we already know, which is that Samus is trans, she says with a wry smile and a chuckle. People just think that we're misunderstanding her character. They think that she's like a mother, and it's like, no, she's a badass trans bounty hunter from space, okay? So Abigail Thorne here is attempting to claim that Metroid has and always will be a queer victory of sorts, which I think the majority of people watching this are rolling their eyes so hard right now listening to this that they're more annoyed than really anything else. Here's the thing, and this ties to millennial slop writing, which is also in Metroid Prime 4 in case you don't know, it's that this is why these sorts of mentalities are being rejected so resoundingly. It's not that people don't want trans people. Sure, some may think that, but the problem is that these types, instead of creating new characters that fit these molds, they would rather just co-opt and take over what already exists, which just tells me that the writers who champion these sorts of things don't actually have the ability to create characters that resonate like a Samus, for example, and instead that it's much easier to just take Samus and then claim her as their own, I guess, because then they can come in with the built fan base already done for them, the heavy lifting, so to speak, already completed before anything else is even done. We've seen it with Star Wars, Destiny, Marvel, DC. Spider-Man 2, for example, from Insomniac Games was a humiliation ritual for Peter Parker as well, which I've spoken at length on this channel too. The problem is that with too much of anything, it starts to become not only annoying, but it dilutes the purpose of the movement or message that it's trying to push in the first place. I also find it rather offensive to female gamers especially because in truth they don't have as many iconic characters as male players have. Like, this is just a fact. It doesn't mean that they don't have any. I mean, Lara Croft from Tomb Raider is one, Shadowheart or Lae'zel from Baldur's Gate 3 have become prominent ones too recently, and of course you have Princess Peach or Zelda herself. Those are very obvious choices too. I mean, Zelda even finally got her own game in Echoes of Wisdom, which is great of Nintendo to do, because Zelda should have had her own games for a long time. I mean, she is a hero too, so why not? There's nothing reasonably wrong with Zelda. Everyone loves her, the male players too, but I think when it comes to Samus and Metroid, Samus was always one of the pioneers of female representation in video games. After all, way back when Metroid first came out, Nintendo specifically never told the player what gender Samus even was at the beginning or any time during the game. It was only confirmed and never really brought up to the attention since Samus was obviously too busy trying to survive this alien world. But as seen here in the original Metroid game, at the very end of the game, Samus then removes her helmet to reveal her long beautiful hair and her feminine face. Well, sort of feminine. I mean, it was back then. But anyways, it was an actual watershed moment in video games for female representation, no matter how you slice it. Which, if you ask me, that is awesome, because it was a rug pull on players to inhabit someone like Samus fighting aliens and surviving the horrors of a planet, only to then reveal that they were a female bounty hunter the entire time. I mean, I think Abigail Thorne attempting to claim that Samus is some sort of trans character in some queer victory sort of way is nothing but offensive to not really me, mind you, but instead the millions of female gamers out there who looked up to someone like Samus their entire lives. The thing I notice with a lot of this kind of writing and stuff is that it's almost always the women within these spaces that get shafted and lose their uniqueness when people like Abigail try to co-opt characters like this time and again. There's nothing wrong with Samus being a woman. I think honestly turning Samus into a man in the future would be stupid. What makes Samus cool is that she is a female bounty hunter, because that's unique. The same way Tomb Raider wouldn't be as cool if Lara was suddenly rebooted to be Larry Croft. At that point, just go play Uncharted then. The point is that this pushing a slop writing and let's change characters to fit our identity is what's actively hurting games more than fixing them. If you want a trans Samus-like character, then you should go write a character like that and then make a game around them. And then the market will decide if that character or the game itself is good enough to now warrant a sequel or a fan base and a franchise. But this is what slop writers always do instead. They just take something that was created by people with 10 times their creativity and then they try to grab the steering wheel thinking they should be in charge despite never actually creating anything of value. It's extra offensive too because Samus isn't even a Western character. She was made by Nintendo, Japanese developers of course. So to instill your Westernized standards upon an Eastern creation just also ties into that age-old issue, which is that Western developers, creators, actors, what have you, constantly keep believing they somehow know better than their Eastern counterparts all of the time. Despite these days, Eastern games are dog-walking Western ones all of the time too. This condescending nature of Western devs is long storied. I remember when an Asian fan guy in the audience asked a question to Phil Fish, the creator of Fez, about Western and Eastern games at a convention years ago. And Phil Fish's condescending tone never stood right with me. Like, here, watch this clip.
And as a Japanese, and my question is, and what could you tell me what kind of about recently Japanese? What do you think about the recently Japanese game?
Is it what is about Japanese games that inspired us?
Recent.
Most recent
I'm sorry.
They suck. I'm sorry. You guys need to get with the times and make better interfaces and update your technology. We're totally kicking your ass. Back then, you guys are the king of the world, but your time has passed. I'm so sorry.
Did you look at his face? Look at what you did, Phil.
I have a more specific game design comment that is
So hateful. Swoop in and be constructive.
No, this is Well, I mean, I don't like Japanese games either.
As you just saw, that's how I view Abigail Thorne's opinion that Samus is trans. It's like Phil Fish speaking down to this fan in the crowd, who is also Asian, by the way. It's as if these Western-born people just believe that they're better, and that their opinions matter more simply because they're not Asian-born or something. It's a really weird superiority complex, and it's nothing short of annoying to me, and hilariously, Phil Fish also left the industry behind after fans kept harassing him over Fez's sequel, and just thank God he never came back, because that guy was really condescending and honestly full of himself, as you saw. And I kind of just rolled my eyes at what sort of games he would have made today if he was still doing it. And to prove that, as the gamer posted here, Abigail Thorne then says Nintendo should call them specifically when they make a Metroid game, which again tells you how these Western people truly believe that they are the peak of what is considered amazing when usually they aren't. It reminds me of another game, and I will come back to Metroid, I promise, but this is important, called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. It's a really long name. It was just like Metroid, however, in development hell for years. The game was rebooted, restarted, restructured many times because the developers and publishers couldn't get the game off the ground. Eventually, when it did release, Bloodlines flopped with both critics and fans. Nobody liked the game. It was full of body type A and B nonsense, androgynous characters, and all the usual Western millennial slop writing you'd come to expect from things like this. As GameDeveloper.com reported here, Bloodlines fell well below sales expectations, and Paradox, the publisher, had to instead write off millions of dollars in losses due to how poorly the game was received within the first month of release. The total losses were $37.4 million to be exact, which for this company is of course a major blow. As Paradox's CEO said to investors, "We've had high expectations for a long time since we saw that it was a good game with a strong IP and a genre with a broad appeal. A month after release, we can sadly see that sales do not match our projections, which necessitates the write-down." Paradox's CEO believes that the failure is with the publisher and not Sumo Digital, that's the developers of the game. But either way, Bloodlines, like many games before it that pushed similar concepts that people like Abigail Thorne have championed in the past, did not, to no one's real surprise honestly, for like the 50th time at least, work out the way that they wanted it to. Nobody wanted to buy the game, and I mean, I can't really blame them. Check out a short compilation of the dialogue in Bloodlines 2 by YouTuber Nick Tech here. Like, please, watch this clip.
I'm your go-to gal for fun times at the OK Camarilla.
I didn't know you would be so...
But whatever you decide to do, just remember, the only real question in life is whether the getting is worth the you're getting. Talk soon, honey bun.
Thing for sport? Or is this your duty as sheriff?
My duty? My fucking duty? Yeah, maybe it is my duty. Maybe it's a duty we should all have been fucking paying more attention to.
Out for walking. Little mother snuggin', hug a bug in a rug. Mother, kiss, goodnight.
The number of sins you can blame on mental health these days, but still, you can't be too careful. How many bloodless bodies does it really take, after all, to turn on a light bulb? The kindred responsible.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to? When you slither out, you'll probably surprise Science Gal.
Science gal.
Be a sweetheart and tell her that the borders are repelled. Look on the bright side. Next time I see you, I'll owe you one. See ya!
I apologize for making you sit through that, but as you saw, that is peak slop writing in that game too, and that is why the game failed amidst all its other issues like paywalling clans or just removing core gameplay elements. It's what I keep saying as I bring this video now back to Metroid Prime 4. You can have a game that maybe looks great and plays nice and has impressive performance, whatever, but it will all suffer and fall apart at the seams when the writing and the characters are annoying and constantly poking at you with their nonsense 24/7. It's Dragon Age the Veilguard all over again pretty much. Actually, even Electronic Arts, they just confirmed, as you can see here from Tweaktown, that EA is now owned 93% by the Saudi Arabian government officially. As seen here, the exact breakdown of how EA will be owned is the Saudis own 93.4%, and the rest is now split between Silver Lake and Affinity Partners, which obviously helped with the deal. The worry here from developers and activist types within there is that this will now force EA's games to no longer bend to LGBT themes or values, which I'm going to be honest is probably going to be the case, yeah, but again, as I've already shown you with Metroid previous videos videos about that game or even this one right now. These types of people are already latching onto this game as well, and Vampire the Masquerade failed horribly for also trying to push the exact concepts that the new owners of EA are likely also going to be against now. Now I hear some saying, where is your evidence? That anyone tied to the writing of Metroid Prime 4 believes in the same sort of things as Abigail Thorne and whatnot too. And that's a fair assessment, so let me prove my claims are true. Also, do not harass this developer or anyone else. Let's just be adults and view these things from a critical lens. And here's my proof then, as we can all have one of the writers of Metroid Prime 4 here on screen named Megan Fausti, who in 2015 retweeted an article in support that Samus was indeed a trans character. Another writer, also, don't harass them by the way, is Tracy Nicoletti, who also worked on Metroid Prime 4. Here's her Twitter confirming this. It doesn't take much to see Tracy's politics as also seen here, where she retweets people believing the world is becoming full of right-wingers, basically. And before anyone says they didn't work on Metroid Prime 4, cool, here's a screenshot of the credits of Prime 4. Both Tracy and Megan are listed as writers on the game, so that is undeniable truth now. So we have people who believe in this Samus is trans narrative working on these games already. Prime 4 is also being lambasted by Nintendo fans too, and I would not be really surprised if it also doesn't sell that well either. It's kind of incredible to me that we took a series that was already struggling for relevance and then thought the best idea was maybe we just make it sound and feel like the Western slop that is also not selling either right now too. Frankly, I think Nintendo missed with this one big time, but it doesn't help that the Western industry continues to try to push these ideas on these legacy characters that were not made in the West. And I also have to ask why Nintendo believed that it would somehow be, in their opinion, a good thing to give the keys to Metroid to these people who came from games that either failed or alienated their own fan bases, like the copious amounts of X343 Industry Halo devs who also worked on Prime 4, and it shows too. The whole thing is just a misfire, but it annoys me that the same thing that happened to Spider-Man 2 and the Arkham series is now happening again here, or even Saints Row. The best thing that the Eastern developers and the publishers who own and run these many franchises can do is just no longer associate themselves or allow the hands of Westerners to craft anything that is tied to the franchises that they own, full stop. Unless Nintendo is about to find some unicorn of a developer in the West, like maybe a Sandfall Interactive to work with, I genuinely don't think that they will benefit even an iota of goodwill announcing that any of their core franchises are now under the development wing of Western developers really ever again. But the shame is that with Metroid at least, the graphical quality of the game is good. It looks nice. It sounds good too. It's like always what plays these sorts of games, the same things again and again. The writing, the characters, and of course the story. It really proves that you can have the most technically sound, beautiful game ever made. But none of that will really matter if the characters inhabiting your world are annoying to look at or listen to, and if the people making your games keep adding Whedon-esque dialogue slop to your games like 9 times out of 10. Look what happened to Star Wars Outlaws even. That's another case study. Like, these sorts of developers can't really help themselves, man. Nothing is off the table to be ruined. It just keeps happening, and I wish I could be proven wrong, but for every time I am proven slightly wrong, 5 more examples come in to sweep away any goodwill that is made. As Geeks and Gamers reported here as well, about half of all LGBT representation will be removed from media. And GLAAD, which stands for Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, are really mad about this. But like I keep saying, it's not that people don't like these characters. Baldur's Gate 3 and Dispatch more recently proved that people can and do. It's just how it's implemented that matters. And it doesn't help when you have people like Abigail Thorne pushing what they believe someone like Samus to be into these sorts of conversations. I mean, remember how many people got mad when Zelda was casted as a woman and not Hunter Schafer in the Legend of Zelda live-action movie recently by Nintendo? It's really just a mess, man, but like either way, this is why what's happening is happening. Audiences are tired, the meta is shifting, and the sowing is going to be reaped, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. The best thing that Nintendo, or really any other publisher, can do right now is realize that if your writers are people who are willing to self-sabotage your games, it will come at the cost of everyone else that is involved. I guess we'll see if Metroid did well enough or not eventually, but from the examples shown in this video and more, I frankly don't think we'll see another Metroid for a while again due to the reception around this one. And hopefully, whenever a new Metroid comes, Nintendo realizes that people want silence and discovery, not pronouns and activism. But what do you think? As always, let me know in the comments, subscribe, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.